Hello everybody, I'm Artillery J, and welcome to not really a first impressions video, but this is a, I guess, second impressions video. Last week I went over this game, Fade to Silence, and I gave my review on it, my honest first impression of it, but I've since been playing it quite a bit, and I wanted to go back through and just kind of go over some stuff with you. This video is going to be a little bit different. This is some pre-recorded footage, and I'm doing some voice recording over top of it, just to kind of give an idea of my second impression, and kind of retract a little bit of what I said before. Not that I gave a dishonest or disingenuous opinion the first time. It's more that I've had more of a chance to hang around with the game and to figure it out and kind of change my opinion on a few things. So the first thing that I want to note is when you are playing through the game, you don't want to play on the easy mode. You want to play on the hard mode because that's where you get your achievements at. That's where this Circle of Torment comes in handy too, because every time you take over an outpost, you get these little rings, and you use these rings. When you die, you can increase your stats, as I'm doing in this little portion right here. So I can click on these things, and it allows me to start when I get resurrected with different bonuses. So I'm going to be able to start with a little bit of a stockpile of wood and whatever the other ones were that I picked there. I don't remember. I think to start with my weapons and my tools, I believe is what they were. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So that's one thing that I found out with the game. I also learned some fighting strategies for fighting different monsters. So there is a specific way that you should fight certain creatures, and that really comes in handy when you know what you're doing, because otherwise you get killed pretty quick. So yeah, this opening right here, you'll see this time and time again. Every time you die, when you restart, you'll see this opening sequence. And at first I thought, it seems like either someone was lazy and didn't feel like making an opening, so they just used the same thing from when you die. But when I actually started playing through the game, it actually makes sense to have that play at the start of the game as well, because the game's kind of about being resurrected and having another chance to go through. And even though it's quote unquote permadeath, it's not really, because you start out with stats that you had gained in your last incarnation. There's also these flames on the ground around me, and each one of those flames is a life. And once you lose all those lives, that's when you go through and you start over with the bonuses and stuff. And you can get more of those flames as well. There are items, and there's actually one right at the beginning of the game, and you'll see it coming up here. And I think I get like 2 or 3 of them during this playthrough, but they increase your ability to accomplish more in your playthrough, so they are helpful. So this first enemy, you'll see that there is a strategy that I use when I'm fighting him, and I learned this by watching different YouTube videos and reading different articles and stuff. And what you want to do is you want to lock onto the target, and there's your heavy attack and your light attack. If you use your heavy attack twice right at the start of the fight and then back away from the enemy while mashing on that heavy attack button, as soon as the heavy attack is ready again, you'll hit him with it. And since you're backing away, it's very rare. Sometimes they actually get a hit on you, but it's very rare. And you'll see I'm backing up right here, and I'm mashing that button, and then boom, I hit him again. So it makes it a little bit easier. This second enemy, when you see them come out and they like puff their chests up like that, that means that they're about to charge and explode. So just roll out of the way. and that prevents you from taking damage from them. Right here, I used to roll down this hill thinking that was faster, but you can just sprint by holding in the shift key. That's the default key on PC. And then these guys, if you target them when they come out of the ground and then just immediately start mashing on your light attack button when they're getting ready to pop out of the ground, you'll hit them before they can hit you. So that makes that a little bit easier. And then there's all these different areas where this corruption is all over the place, and you want to, just like I did with that crystal there, you want to cleanse the area of corruption, and you get different items for doing that, and it just kind of makes your gameplay a little bit easier, I think. Another thing that I found out is you'll notice during this playthrough I never gain any companions. When you have your followers, they use your resources. They use food, they use wood, and they use it very quick, and they use a lot of it. So what I like to do is clear the first 2 areas of the map before I go back and get my first follower, and then I will grab my first 2 followers and have them build some stuff and make things for me. But since I was able to start this playthrough out with my copper axe and my my better weapons and items and stuff, my second tier bow, second tier axe, all my second tier stuff, I can actually clear the first 3 areas of the map before I need to have followers to make me better weapons and tools. So that should come in handy on not depleting my resources as quick. And the reason that I restarted the game to do this playthrough, I actually hadn't lost all my lives. I restarted the game. Now that's one of the items that I just collected right there. Was one of the items that give you an extra life. So I'm going to use it right off the rip. This right here, the Flame of Hope. So when you see those, get them and use them immediately. Those give you extra lives. Anyway, I had restarted the game so that I could do this video, but I was pretty much out of resources anyway. The followers that I had chewed through my wood and hunting grounds, so I was to the point that I was completely out of hunting grounds, and there was only, I think, 2 forests left in the area that I was in. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and restart it, and that way I can make this video, and also don't have to worry about my companions as much if I just wait to gather them. So yeah, that's a tip for you guys. Try to wait to get your companions, and it comes in a little bit more handy. You don't really need them for anything anyway, right at the start of the game. So best to hold off on them. Gather as many items as you can. Every time you see items, gather them, take them back, throw them in your storage box, and rinse and repeat. If you have followers, don't put your grub roots in the box. Also, don't put your pristine meat, I think is what it's called. It's the when you kill the deer, there's a specific item that you get. You only get one of them. Don't put that in there because you need those for crafting items, as well as the grub roots. You need grub roots to craft your fiber, and you use fiber for everything, it feels like. So try to keep those on you if you can. And right at the start, as soon as you get the opportunity, make the 2 pouches to increase your inventory, because that gets you a few more slots for each of the pouches. You can have 2 on you at a time. So I will actually do that. I believe that's the first thing that I craft in this playthrough, since I didn't need to craft an axe or anything since I started with one. I was just able to craft those pouches right away. So comes in very handy. The more inventory space that you have, the better, I think. And I think each one gives you like 4 extra slots. So that's 8 slots, you know. That's a lot more items that you're able to carry before you got to go drop things off at your base. So right here I was looking for arrows. so that I could shoot that deer, and I knew where some were, so I just had to get over here to them. So now that I've got them, boom, arrows. And then just go ahead and equip them. I also like to hotbar my arrows. I put them on my my key for number 4. That way, when I run out of arrows when I'm shooting, because you only have 12 at a time, I just tap the number 4 to restock them. And usually I'll tap 4 as soon as I get done with a fight anyway, just to make sure that they're always stocked up to max. So I keep arrows on me all the time. Your pristine wood, save those as well. Don't turn them into arrows unless you absolutely need arrows. I would highly recommend keeping it because you need it for other things. And it's not really rare, but it's an item that you don't get as much of. It's rarer than some of the other items. So I recommend keeping them and not using them for arrows. Use them for other things. So this bow is awesome. I can, when I hit a deer with them, the deer goes down pretty quick. And so it makes life a little bit easier. Also, on most of the enemies, it's about 2 shots less with arrows to take them out. So very helpful. So my inventory's full already because I don't have those pouches. So, yep, right here. Just going to go ahead and make the fiber as soon as possible because fiber is important. It's good to have fiber in your diet so you can get these pouches. So, yeah, I go ahead and I craft up fiber, and then I craft all of my grub root into fiber, and then I can go ahead and make my pouches. So, boom, and then there's one of the pouches right there. Woven pouch is what they're called. So as soon as it gets done crafting it, I'll pop over and I'll equip it. Always make sure that you equip your items, guys. It's very important. So you'll see I got an extra 2 spaces. I thought that it was 4. But still, that's an extra 4 spaces total that you get, which is, again, very handy. As you can see, you need fiber for your armor and your fur coat as well. And you need the pristine remains from the deer. You need 3 of those to make your fur coat, which helps with keeping you warm. So, and as you can see, I'm going to run back to my base and drop all these goodies off just to get them out of my bag, make a little bit of space for other things. So most of this game is just knowing what you need to do to get through it. And that makes life a little bit easier, and it makes the game in general more enjoyable. Now, since I don't have any followers right now, I'm not too worried about putting my pristine remains or grub root into my village stash, just because there's nobody there that's going to use them, so it's not a big deal. But if you do have them in there and you have followers, they'll almost always craft all that stuff into food, and it's highly annoying. So yeah, chop down trees. What I recommend is chop down 1 tree in each forest when you're just starting out, because you don't need that much wood if it's just you and you don't have any followers. So chop down 1 tree per forest, and that's plenty of wood to just get you through. If you happen to get low on wood, you can always go back and chop down another tree, but it makes it so that you're not running back and forth to your base as much. And if you've got those trees chopped down and you've once you get followers, you won't have to go back through and open forests up for them because they'll already have them open to them. So it's more time that you can spend focusing on getting through the game rather than going and finding resources for your people to utilize. So another helpful tip right there for you. Again, grab everything that you see. Grub roots, the pristine wood, like right there. Just everything. If you see it, pick it up, take it back, throw it in your storage. Every single item in the game comes in handy for something. Otherwise, probably wouldn't be in the game. But I try to always keep my hunter's vision on, or whatever that game actually calls it. On PC, the default key is V. You hold it in and it lets you see items, makes them glow. So very helpful. This guy gets me right here. And I don't use on this guy the fighting strategy that I normally use on those guys. Normally I'll just hit them with arrows until they die. That way I don't got to deal with them hitting me. But that guy, yeah, he was kind of close, so it didn't make sense to switch to my bow and waste arrows. Those guys typically there'll be 2 super attacks with the copper sword. I believe it's 3 with the starting sword. Craft the sword as soon as you can, guys. I recommend for your items and tools, the first thing to craft being an axe so that you can chop down trees and keep warm, which is very important. And then after that, the bow so that you can shoot deer and get food. And then after that, the sword right away. Pickaxe you can hold off on because you can't use that for a little while anyway. Cleanse these as soon as you see them. It just makes it easier when you're traveling, so you're not like running into them. And they drop all these little essence things here, which come in handy because you can use those to craft health potions. Typically around these guys, you'll see a bag like this somewhere. They'll either come out of the guy or they will be laying on the ground nearby. And they a lot of times have the undying embers in them. You can use undying embers to craft more flames of hope. So those are very handy as well. I highly recommend getting them when you see them, just like everything else. So yeah, what I was saying is before about crafting your tools and stuff, you want to get your axe first so that you can get wood, because you get cold pretty easy. So typically I'll do the axe, and then I will do the bow. That way I can get my wood and my food. And then normally what I do is I craft both of my pouches. That way I can increase my inventory. And then after that I craft a sword. And then from there I go to my armor and after the armor, the fur jacket. Just gives you a little bit more resistance against enemies and a little bit more resistance to the cold by having those two. So for the fur coat, you need 3 of the prestige, not prestige, but the remains. Yeah, I can't think of what they're called, but they're the one that looks like a bone with some meat still on it. Anyway, you need 3 of those for the fur coat, as well as a bunch of fiber, and then you need a bunch of fiber and I believe 3 salvage in order to make the armor. So salvage you'll typically find by man-made structures, cars and stuff like that. Sometimes have them in them. So just be on the lookout for them. Pick it up anytime you see it. And then you can make your armor. You'll use salvage for a bunch of other stuff later on in the game as well. So good to stock up on it whenever you see it. Yeah, the next thing I guess to talk about is the towers with the tentacles that you'll see in the distance. And I believe that's where I'm actually going in the game right now, is to one of the towers. But once you take those out, it's called an outpost. Once you cleanse the crystal in it, you'll see it back there in the background with the tentacles. Once you cleanse the crystal, it will unlock the entire map for that region, so you'll be able to see where everything is. And it comes in very handy when you're trying to find specific things, like if you desperately need food and you want to find a hunting ground. Knowing where the hunting grounds are comes in handy. So you'll see my map is hardly complete at all. So yeah, getting these outposts helps significantly for dealing with that and being able to see where things are located. Like I said, cleanse these things as soon as you see them. It makes life a little bit easier. What you want to do is hit E and watch your feet. Make sure that none of those little bubble things are spawning under your feet. If they do, roll away and then immediately start cleansing again. And it won't let you roll out of the way if your sword is drawn. which is highly annoying. Only on these. It's fine when you're in a fight, but when you're cleansing these, when you finish cleansing, if you had your sword out, it won't let you roll. You have to put your sword away. So just bear that in mind. Also watch for the orb that's in the sky. The eclipse is what it's called. Make sure you know where that is, because a lot of times you'll see it. You'll see like a little red spot on the ground, and you'll hear the rumbling from that thing above you. I was trying to get my sword out and got hit like an idiot. Anyway, it'll drop cars on you, which is really annoying. And if you're not paying attention to where it is, sometimes you'll be cleansing those and just get hit by a car. And it's very very inconvenient when that happens, to put it mildly. So I use that to clear up my frozen health bar, and then I use a health regen, which restores health over time. And yeah, that's about it. So for that portion of the game, that's about it. So for the rest of the portion of this game, I'm speeding up the footage, just because otherwise I'd have like a 40-minute long video. So I wanted to speed things up, make it a little bit quicker for you guys. So I'm on my way up here to the outpost to take it out, and gathering all the items that I have en route, just to kind of gain items and get things out of my inventory. Started a fire just so that I could cook up this food that's in my inventory. That way I could consolidate my inventory a little bit, and also because I was hungry. So yeah, that guy popped out of nowhere. I needed to roll out of the way. So this first outpost, you kind of go up a hill, and it's not that difficult to get to. The further into the game you get, the outposts are a little bit more difficult. Each one is a little more difficult than the last. It gets to the point where you have to cleanse several of these things before you can even get to the crystal. This one, I believe, has 3. But you don't have to cleanse all of them to get to the thing. I think you only have to cleanse one of them. But, you know, while I'm here, might as well cleanse it. And this one had wolf in it. Use the wolves. Once you unlock those, you can use them for your sled, which gets you around the game a little bit quicker. One note on the sled, you won't actually see it in this video, but it is kind of glitchy still. Sometimes you'll just kind of fall through the map, so be wary of that. I'm not going to tell you to use save scumming, but I do. If I'm getting ready to go somewhere on my sled, I always make a copy of my save file, just in case I fall through the world or get stuck in a wall or something, which has happened a couple of times. That way I can go ahead and restart my save point, and I'm not having to start my game completely over. These guys are the same as the other ones, same strategy. They just take more hits, so just something to be mindful of. And here's the crystal in this tower, and you take it over the same way that you cleanse the other things. So hit E and just tap your mouse button as quick as you can, and you'll see it open up my entire map for me. So now I can see where everything's at. So very nice, very convenient. Up at the top of the towers, there are these boxes that have all kinds of goodies in it. So you can, and it links to your storage. So there's a box that has a bunch of stuff in it, and then there's another box for your storage. So take everything out of the other box and throw it in your storage box, and it makes life a little bit easier. Because you get a whole bunch of wood that you can use, and you get a whole bunch of other stuff that you can use. So yeah, and there's a flame of hope in all of these as well. And the first time you do them, there is a little ring that pops out that you can get, and you use those rings to help you when you start a new game. So that is it, guys. That's all for this video. As you can see, I have gotten a little bit better since my my first impressions video, and I know what I'm doing a little bit more. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you will take a look at the game a little bit more in depth as I did. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye!